Hey all, it's Mooch. Welcome. I'll get things set up here. I'm not even going to try to pretend the glasses. And I forgot to set it public. Hopefully anybody shows up. If not, you can watch it later. But I just set it public now, and we'll see what happens. See if it shows up in my feed so I can look at chat. Okay. Hey, Buck and Shoot Ranch 1, thank you for joining us. Big B69 TI, hello. Omi Bambino, good evening. Sorry about not making it public earlier. I'm guessing what it sends out something an hour. Jeff Lawson, welcome. Um, Sends out something in advance to let everyone know. Completely forgot. I thought we used to be able to set that. You used to be able to say, hey, half hour in advance, 1 hour in advance, send out a notice. I don't know if I ever remember to make these public in advance, whether it sets it does it like a half hour in advance or 1 hour in advance, or I can set it myself. I can't find it in YouTube Studio. Phil Puppet Wheeler, good evening. Thank you for joining us. Steve Uhas, thank you. Microfix, good evening. Thank you everyone for joining. And I'll give everyone a couple minutes just because I screwed up the setting it public. So no one was kind of already here in advance. VDog, what up? Yeah, VDog, I screwed up. I didn't set it public. I noticed when I started to go live, it was unlisted, and I'm like, I'm talking to myself. So I corrected that. Hopefully, well, at least this time my fly is zipped this time, and I'm not even going to try to go without the glasses. Phil Lee, welcome, sir. Tobai, you retracted a message. I want to see that. Um, Give everyone else a little bit more. Placid Dragon, thank you for joining us, and hopefully we got a good topics before I send all you guys over to Not Another Vape Show to say that Mooch sent you. Lightbearer, thanks for joining us. Microfix. Okay, and okay, no worries. Now, is it Tobai or Thobai? Addy, Tooney, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, we'll have to get back on the plumes again, Addy. Dan the Man, thank you for joining us. Buck and Shoot Ranch 1. I got a stack section for my brass streamer and loving it. When I grow up and I have the money, I want to stack the stainless that I have here. I think that'd be very cool. Range of Eights, welcome. Rick Carr, hello. And and of course the fan now is going to blow it all the way down this way. I got to work out the fan thing, that's for sure. Tracy Kennedy, thanks for joining us. Okay, I'll start diving into a couple things. David Hunston, don't let my girlfriend see that. She's the jealous type, and she knows where the firearms are stored. Rex Vapes, welcome joining us. Brendan Coviello. No, this is actually, well, actually, I'll wait for more people to come in, but it's this. I switch a lot. I don't have an ADV, something I can go through all day. Duncan Yo-Yo 1, thanks for joining us. That's where I have to blow it. Out that way. Okay. Cloaking Cody, thanks for joining us, and thank you for your kind words. Okay, for those of you in chat, if you have any questions, and I won't be reading questions until I start reading questions, but I'll say when I do that. And just put the @ battery mooch, 2 words at the beginning so it flags me. Otherwise, no guarantees at all that I'm reading anything. And then certainly, if you definitely want me to read your message, just toss it in a super chat, help support my testing, and you will have your message answered, question answered. Uh, okay. I don't remember enough of my semester of Arabic, but hello from Kuwait. Thank you for joining us. I do remember as a lefty loving to write in Arabic because it doesn't smear. Since I'm going right to left, it doesn't smear underneath my hand. So everyone else all of a sudden found, doing Arabic with their right hand, the ink smearing over their hands. I'm like, that's what lefties have had to deal with for years and years. All right, folks. Let me see. I'm going to dive away from chat. And actually, I can keep chat going. There's a lot of technical stuff here. Oh, no, of course, that screws up chat. So we'll just go to here, and I'll check chat a little bit later on things. Let's start to dive into the first topic. And yeah, um, our regulated mods are lying to us. Some of us have known about the exaggerated power ratings and how, well, just flat out exaggeration. 150 watt mod says 200 watts, but also there's the thing of 200 watt mod can only deliver 200 watts at maybe 0.12 to 0.17 ohm coils. There's a sweet spot where the output current, output voltage of the mod matches up with a resistance to deliver 200 watts or whatever the wattage is. And if you're up at 2 ohms or something like that, yeah, it's within the ratings of the mod, but you're not getting 200 watts at 2 ohms. Who would do that anyway? But um, Mike, vapes, I can see a big burst of color going by. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Um, your support and for what you do for the community too. It's incredible. Um, let's see, when I just got starstruck there for a minute. Where was I? So we're familiar with that, how a device can quote lie to us from that. But there's also a more evil thing, a scourge that's being thrust upon our community. And that, of course, is battery bars and its nefarious cousin, battery percentage displays. Yes, they're evil. Now, I know they're there, and they lie to us. I know they're there to make our lives easier. They're simple. They're on our cell phones. But the problem is we're giving up accuracy and we're giving up usefulness for that simplicity. Now, in our cell phones, they work great. In our tablets, they work great. And maybe every couple of months, you have to discharge your battery all the way down and all the way back up again. That's not for the battery. That steals a cycle from a lithium-ion battery. It's not good for the battery, but it recalibrates the chip inside the little battery pack, even if it's a single cell, flat cell, that's a battery pack, or if it's fixed inside the phone, there's a chip inside there that recalibrates it to what truly is zero and what's truly 100% inside the battery. That works great in your tablets and phones and everything like that. So how come it doesn't work so well for our mods? Well, what's inside the phone and our tablets and our laptops is calibrated for one battery and that battery it uses. If you buy a third-party battery, the chip is in the battery pack and it's calibrated for that battery. So you're going to get the accuracy. It's not going to give you all the weird stuff that ours gives you, that our mods might give us. And there are a bunch of reasons. I have notes. I have to cheat. There's too many things to remember here. There are a bunch of reasons why our mods are going to lie to us when it comes to battery bars and why we just can't attach a lot of significance to it. It can be useful, very useful, but we can't be instantly upset or completely trust them 100%. And one of those is the mods aren't designed to be incredibly accurate. And I think this can come down just a little bit. Um, you can have different voltage readings between slots. Like take one battery, take two batteries, don't fire them on, read the voltage. If you have one that has voltage, reverse them, read the voltage again, and see if the voltage follows the battery or whether it still reads the same voltage that it had before for both battery switches, because those batteries will be at slightly different voltages. Uh, so the slots can be slightly different. The accuracy can be slightly off. Now, for battery voltage, that's one thing, but for battery bars or battery percentages, it's still based on the voltage of the battery. So how accurate it is still counts. Uh, one big problem, and that I see a lot of people get upset about, is it only takes like a thousandth of a volt to go from like a 3-bar display to 4 bars on there. And I get to use my board. Um, what we've got, oh no, is that backwards? Do you guys see it backwards? I forgot about that. This live stuff isn't really everything what I thought it was going to be. You know, and I actually used nice handwriting today too. Okay, so let's see if I can make sense without the graphics. Uh, if you've got, let's say, 3.6 to 3.9 volts is 3 bars. I'm making that up. Then like 3.9 volts to 4.2 volts is 4 bars. If this one little point here, just a thousandth of a volt change on the battery, can go from 3 bars to 4 bars. And that it has to happen. There has to be a threshold between showing 4 bars and showing 3 bars. And it's going to be the minimum voltage difference that the brain of the mod can detect. And it's a thousandth of a volt, 5 thousandths of a volt, something like that, something very tiny. And so what that can mean is you can have two batteries in your mod, a thousandth of a volt apart. One will show 4 bars, one might show 3 bars. It doesn't mean they're 25% apart. It means, well, it could mean that, or it could just mean they're a thousandth of a volt apart. We don't know. And that's the problem with having, Mike, you're killing me. It is correct. We see it fine. You do? Oh, thank you. Then why is it backwards for me? You know, when I grow up, I'm going to be like the big boys and have all kinds of nice cameras and everything else. Okay, so here we go. So we can see, with 3 bars, you might have 3.6 to 3.899. 4 bars be 3.9 to 4.2 volts. Well, it's what I was talking about before. We can't say, oh, it's actually a 25% difference. It might be small. It might be bigger. It may not. So that's one way our regulated mods lie to us. Now, what's even worse is every single battery has a different, what they call power curve or voltage curves. When you're discharging the battery down, 50% charge on one battery will be a different voltage than 50% charge on another, just by the way they discharge, the shapes, their efficiency, their chemistry, all these different things. So how do you design a mod that determines a battery percentage when every single battery has a different voltage for a particular percentage? You can't. You can maybe average things out or something like that, but now you're stuck with a device that isn't telling you what the actual percentage is. Also, the quote effective percentage, and this is where a lot of people get in trouble, and it causes a lot of angst and a lot of worry in the community, and it doesn't have to. 60%, it's hard to explain this in less than 1,000 words. The percentage of the battery that's left depends on the power level you're using it at. And I think we've seen this when you use a really good battery, let's say, 100 watts or something like that. You're really pounding it hard, and you can vape that thing all the way down low. But a crappy battery could, maybe both show 60%. And a good battery, you can keep using it for another couple hours. But a crappy battery, you get 1 or 2 pulls, and that's it. It's just, I'm done. I'm out of here. They both say 60% though, but the amount of effective capacity you can still use changes based on how hard you're using the battery, and that's because of the battery sag. It doesn't matter if it's a 60%. If it sags so hard, it drops down to where the device thinks it's empty, and then it snaps back up again. So it confuses a lot of people when they use maybe one mod with a battery or a different set of batteries, and 60% works fine. They can vape down to 20%. And then in another mod, they can only vape down to 60%. So, and it's even worse when you only have 3 or 4 battery bars. So it's another way we're being lied to about things. I get it. It makes it simpler, but there's got to be some other ways to be able to get us the information we need simply, because we can't just emulate cell phones. We're not calibrated to the batteries. We're not set up this way to do that. I get why the manufacturers do that. We know about battery bars. We even know about percentages even. But using something like voltages, that's something a lot of people aren't going to be comfortable with. They're not going to know, hey, most mods go from 3.2 volts to 4.2 volts, that kind of thing. Most batteries spend most of the time around 3.6, 3.7. It makes their head explode. They just want freaking bars. 1 bar, 4 bars. That's it. So we're kind of in a tough place there. Something that also messes up the accuracy, or why a mod would lie to us, is the display or the percentages that most mods show you is for a battery at rest. A battery that's been sitting around for a while. where its voltage stabilizes. It says, you take a pull, battery voltage drops down, and then it slowly, rises up fairly quickly, and then slowly, slowly finishes rising up for over a few minutes, even a few hours to truly get to its final resting voltage. But the display is telling you a percentage based on where it sees it. So you could take a poll, then maybe 5 seconds later, you'll go to the display and it says 65%. But then you come back in an hour and it might say 75%. And you're like, what the is going on? I didn't charge this battery. No, but the voltage kept rising up after the battery had fully recovered, and that changes the percentage. So there's not much we can do about that if we're using percentages, or you might see a battery go from 3 bars to 4 bars or something like that. But just to be aware that those kind of things can happen, that it's all set up for a battery at rest. And if you've just used your mod the past few minutes or immediately before, you might have to wait a little bit if you really want to see what the battery is doing. Uh, the last thing that can trick us or fool us or lie to us is different companies handle setting percentages and bars differently. Most of it, I think, is around sag. Do they show you the sag instantly, or do they start to filter that out? Do they go, anything under a couple of seconds, we're not even going to show them anything changing on the battery. We're not going to go from 5 bars to 3 bars and back up. It just gets them very upset. We're just going to, we'll just average things out over an hour and show them as it comes down. Others might show that almost instantaneous voltage change as you're using the battery. For me, I like that because it lets me know how far it's sagging. Do I have to back off on the power maybe a little bit, or otherwise the mod's not going to fire or something like that? But for other people, it just causes a lot of angst, a lot of worry, because all they see is the battery tanking every time they're taking a pull, which is a good indicator that they're using crap battery, but it worries them. So that becomes a problem. Now, the things that cause a lot of these things lies to be told to us by the mods is that every battery is a little bit different. I mentioned that before. 1 bar difference might mean 25% difference between the batteries, or it might mean 1/1000th of a volt difference. So we can't match them up to batteries. Different batteries recover in different times. I mentioned that. Something that fools a lot of people is batteries are not empty at 0%. So it- this this isn't actually falling into the category of a mod lying to us. That sounds very dramatic. Maybe I can say it a different way. But being fooled by a mod display is that most regulated devices shut down or won't fire when the battery gets to about 3.2 volts or so. But batteries are empty, quote unquote, empty at around 2.5 volts. So we can see that coming down to this display here, we got just time going across the voltage. You start at 4.2 volts, it drops down pretty quickly as you're using it, spends most of its time here in the middle, and then at around 3.2 volts, it goes, I'm done. There's still more capacity left in the battery here. Not much, not to compare to everything else, but that is not an empty battery. So a lot of people are worried that, whoa, I'm getting towards zero. I've always read you never vape a battery, down to zero. Well, that zero we're talking about never approaching is 2.5 volts. That's truly empty. Every single regulated mod, you can go all the way to zero every single time, and you're actually still treating your batteries pretty well because you're at around 3.1, 3.2 volts. When the battery comes back to resting, you're probably up at 3.4 to 3.5, even a little bit higher. And those batteries, that's a great way to extend battery life. Charging is a whole nother matter. The heat, the 4.25 volt charging that some other mods do, that's just lousy for the battery. So all these things start to come together to make it very hard to give us any decent information for this simplicity that we're asking for, or this commonality with our cell phones and with our tablets. And in the end, it ends up meaning that we cannot put lots of trust or meaning into the battery bar displays and the battery percentages, especially if you're comparing two batteries, because one battery can be a whole bar off the other at 1/1000th of a volt different, because every battery is different, because the two slots may have different voltage reading accuracies. don't right away get very worried that one battery is different than the other. Yes, if you have a married pair, you bought them together, you're taking reasonable care of them, then don't really worry if you're starting to see a 1 bar difference. You know, switch the batteries around, see if the 1 bar follows it. If you start to see it become a 2 bar or 3 bar difference, now that's an indicator maybe a battery is reaching the end of its life, or there might be some other kind of problem there. But otherwise, especially if you put them both in a, fresh from the charger in the device and they're both the same number of bars and the difference really only shows up further down, that may be just that little 1,000th of a volt thing. I prefer voltage displays. They're harder to understand because now you have to learn 3.2 volts to 4.2 volts. Um, well, yeah, you have to learn that. And that's more than most people ever want to learn about a device. They just want to know the freaking number of bars and when do I charge. So I think something like where you've got, and what's it, the Legend that has it, where it's got a nice long battery strip that's got a lot of segments to it, so it's not just big chunks of four, and maybe the voltage underneath. So you can have both in a device. Um, there are things that manufacturers can do to make it easier for us instead of just literally trying to copy a cell phone to make things super simple. Just adding a little more to it, and I think it may be a lot more useful. Um, if you do see you have maybe growing differences, or you just want to know what's going on, why you always have a 1 bar difference between two batteries, you're going to need a charger that shows voltages, or you're going to need a meter to be able to tell you, take the batteries out and measure the voltages. Now, if those voltages are 20, zero point zero 0.02 volts apart, even 0.05 volts apart, that's not a big deal. When you're getting a zero point 0.1, zero point 0.2 volt difference between batteries, when they're being charged the same, taken care of the same way, that's starting to be an indicator maybe one of them's out on their way out. And mark that battery, keep an eye on it, make sure the difference doesn't go any further. Particularly any battery that self discharges quickly. Charge one Friday, use them Monday, and one's a lot lower voltage than the other. That can be a problem. I need to do that more often. I need to shut up once in a while so I can actually vape. Oh, sorry. Um, Goon 1.5 clutch, which I'm loving. Where's the name? There it is. And I was having some coffee before, and I decided I want a little bit of chocolate without the 600 calories to go with it. So I've got some of that Hit That Donut chocolate, which I really like. I've been working very slowly through that. So now the things that the manufacturers can do, and I'm not going to mention them all here, it's because I want them to pay me millions of dollars to make their devices better. But the things we can do to better understand what is being displayed and what makes them lie to us. And most of the things we don't have to worry about. It's really the trends where we really have to start paying attention that something may be going wrong. Hey, this battery keeps getting worse and worse and worse and worse, and that can be a problem. Let's take a peek at chat here. So catch up on a couple of things. We're in timing. Okay, the next one is a lot shorter. Okay. Turbo Tony, E4, thank you for joining us. Josh Apathy Miller, thank you also. Going down here. David Humson, LG Browns, 40 watts. Yeah, that's about right for an HG2. Um, okay, you know what? Let's bang out. Actually, let me go through the other thing. We'll take all the questions at once because the other thing doesn't take too long. And part of that, the other one is the other topic was are LG batteries disappearing? Now, trying to find out anything definitive is impossible, but there are rumors that LG has accelerated their efforts in regards to the vendors of their batteries to try to get them to stop selling and becoming a little more insistent about that. Actually, let me make sure I get all the things. A couple of vendors, at least, are uh, having discount prices across their LG lines. So it looks like they're clearing house of the LG sales. I saw somebody in a post, I think earlier today, asking a question, wait a minute, are these all bad batches? Is something gone wrong or all these crap cells that thought LGs are good. No, there's nothing that's changed with any LG cell. Their quality control is second to none. All these big companies, they have industrial and commercial customers buying millions of cells a year. They don't do this bad batch thing. Now, once batteries make it into the gray markets and they're stored in a warehouse for a couple of years, or we get low grade cells that were destined for some other use, okay, but not LG. They're not releasing bad batches. So the vendors aren't clearing house because the LG batteries are bad. There are other reasons for that. Now, that's with LG. Okay, so LG, for a while now, has been wanting to get us to stop using their batteries. Uh, they get named in lawsuits. It's been a problem for them, and everyone gets named in the lawsuits when someone blows themselves up with a battery, and it's horrifying. I wish we could just not have these accidents because the injuries are so horrific, like with the mech just being propelled up and all. But it happens, and a lot of people get sued. And LG is saying enough, and other companies are going to be saying this too. Now, LG released a video lately that is literally, I think, was created just to scare people into not using loose cells. And it's not just for vapors; it's flashlight users, um, the DIY Powerwall community, vaping, certainly anything else where they're using individual cells. And they I think is part of a larger effort now where they're going to be trying to get people to stop using the cells. I was asked an interesting question recently. Why not just educate people on how to use these batteries safer or more safely? Well, think of it from LG's point of view. You're never going to reach everybody. A huge percentage of the people might use these batteries that may never get online and not going to be part of that. Um, so they know they can't reach everybody. They can't stop accidents from happening. Uh, we're also a very tiny market, at least for vapors, so it's not worth some big effort from them to try to hold on to us, especially with us, you know, a lot of people treating batteries badly. There's no real downside for them to say to get our community to stop using their cells. They're not going to miss the money. Um, People stop suing them, and they're sticking to their original for years and years and years and years, always in every data sheet. They're only meant to be used in battery packs. Holy shit. Phenom, dude, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much, sir. Wow. And that's an awesome. What is that thing? Thank you. Uh, so I don't know what the future is going to be there. I don't know if other vendors are going to start to do this or if they're being contacted by them or LG are making the same decisions. But I think other companies are going to start doing this too. They may be watching or they maybe already have things in the work. Samsung, Murata, Sanyo, Panasonic. Not so much Sanyo and Panasonic because we don't use a lot of the cells, but it all depends on what starts happening. The all the accidents that were happening in 2017 and 2018, I feel personally has led up to this point where LG finally went, enough is enough. Let's get these things off the market. Let's really start enforcing it. Just warning people from our website isn't doing it, and they're being more proactive about it. Uh, where does this leave us if the other companies start doing this? Well, the worst case scenario is well, I mean, there's always a way from those who are knowledgeable. You order from China, you hope they're genuine, there you go. But for everybody else, it's the China manufactured cells, the ones from the smaller factories, the ones that are being wrapped more and more often now by VapCell, MXJO, and other companies on it, and that may become a big part of the market. But that's a disaster, worst case kind of scenario. I don't know when it's going to happen if it's going to happen and what the timing for this might be. But right now, there's some signs that LG is getting more proactive about things. So if you want LG cells, if there's some of your favorites, buy them. Start thinking about buying them. Now, don't stock up. Don't buy 30 cells if you're only using four because they age while you're holding on to them. You're just eventually going to have to turn over to Samsung's and Sony's, or actually Murata's now, and any other Molecells, of course. Thank goodness for Molecell. Yes, to the China manufactured batteries, but how can I forget this? Molecell is there with two great high power cells, the P26A and the P42A. So that is great for the higher power users, even the moderate users. For the very low power mouth alungers, it's the ultra high capacity cells coming out of the smaller China factories, or you can just use a 4200 mAh 21700 because it comes from Malecell and you know it's going to be a good cell. And that covers the two topics for tonight. I think let's open it up for questions. @ Mooch, 2 words in the front for me to be able to notice it, because then it tags it in red, and we can go through this. Joshua Apathy Miller, Mooch, can you post your PayPal email so we can send you funds without YouTube or Patreon taking a cut? PayPal, I'm actually, because I have to restart YouTube when I jump out and jump back in and all this stupid silliness. The pinned post at the top of my Facebook page has the link. Anybody can use that. If I start getting a lot of requests, then I'll just come back and come back out. But you can use that to be able to do a one-time donation through there. Or you can PayPal. It's www.paypal.com/batterymooch. I think that's, or is it paypal.me/batterymooch? Okay, sorry, I shouldn't say. But the link is on my Facebook page. And checking here for any questions. Brad Palmer, I just caught yours because it was a question below yours. You forgot the why. Any idea will Molly release their new cell? Well, they're always developing new cells. I don't know which one you're referring to, but I don't have any information on an imminent release of a cell. They are thorough about it. Well, all the manufacturers are. That could be 2 years of testing easily for it. Buck and Shoot Rants 1, what do you think of deoxit lubricant? I haven't tested those yet, and I want to start testing them to get an idea. They can't. I don't think they can increase connectivity. They may be able to get you to tighten threads better, because wherever the contacts come together, the lubricant's going to get squeezed out. So it's made to keep it from oxidizing. It's not made to increase conductivity. In fact, it is an insulator. It's just there to help maintain the device, and then anything that has a good tight contact will squeeze out this insulating grease or this insulating layer and go for it. It's made a lot for wiping contacts, like in relays and stuff like that, that will smear this stuff out of the way. With a butt contact like this, I certainly don't recommend it. For threads, you can certainly try it, but I don't have any good information yet. A lot of people aren't spelling my name right or not using the name at the beginning. Marcello King, can you talk a little about the dangerous when the kids are throwing away their Joule in water or swimming pools? Yeah, actually, I was talking to a vendor about that. It's not inherently dangerous, but it's a stupid idea. The water won't short circuit the battery, but water could make the mod fail, and that could cause a problem with the battery, something like that. It's just stupid to do that. What is it? I forgot what the campaign is about quitting, Joule use, and they're, finding clever ways to throw it away. I should do some kind of post or video on that, but it's insanity to have clever ways to get rid of it other than responsibly recycling your damn Joule. If you want to get rid of it, fine. Do the boring thing and bring it to a battery. Tape it or something and bring it to a battery bin. Recycling in a home improvement store or an electronics chain. VDOG 55, did you see the 16-cell tester Jehu Garcia was showing off? Yes, I did. I've seen some of the features of it. I think that's got, for the Powerwall community, that's fantastic. It's exactly what they need to be able to test hundreds of cells at once. So I'm looking forward to see what the software upgrades for that are. Ghost Vapes asks, what do you think of Home Tech Home Life batteries? Well, the Home Life is identical in appearance and identical in performance to the Samsung 30Q, which is a great battery. So the Home Life is as good as the 30Q. There's a new Home Life coming out. I don't know anything about it yet. It's Home Life 3 or 4. I forgot that they're having. I don't know. I'm guessing since it's a Home Life, it'll be a 3,000 milliampere hour battery. But I don't know anything about it yet. But 30 Qs or the home life, they're going to be perform the same for you. Tobai, is there a better IR tester out? Meanwhile, I have the YR 1030 after reviewed it, but that's 3-year-old tech. Internal resistance is 100-year-old tech. The technology isn't a problem if it's old. Good technology is good technology. There's no new miraculous way to read AC internal resistance. Topai is asking about AC internal resistance testers. Now that the numbers are so small, and for a lot of batteries, they don't change much over their life. It's not a great way to test how a battery ages. It can be a good way for sorting, for finding fakes, sorting through cells and things like that. But DC internal resistance is, I think, better for tracking how a cell ages over time, and that's what most chargers use. Right now, Tobai, there's nothing better other than maybe the YR 1035 or the 1035 Plus. I think there is a little more accuracy. But the basics of AC internal resistance, that'll be around for another 1,000 years because it works, it's inexpensive, and it's effective. Very accurate. Eddie Tooney, PayPal, Patreon, Facebook, links post below. Thank you. Turbo Tony, E4. What do I think of the Malecell 21700? One of the best batteries we can possibly buy. The Malecell P42A is my best all-around choice for 21700. It beats the 40T. It outlasts the 30T because it's 4200 mAh. The 30T beats it out, hits a little harder for about the first third of the discharge. If you're using it, let's say in a mech, and then the P42A out hits the 30T because the 30T is a lower capacity battery. So the P42A is a fantastic cell. Light bearer question mark. Battery Mooch. Any limitations on mAh for 21700 on regulated devices? Not that I know of. I think, what are we up to? 5,000, we're at 5,000 mAh. Maybe that goes up to 6,000 in a year or two. I don't know of any mods that will go, whoa, we're not going to work with that. I don't think they're dependent on the capacity for that to be a problem. And this class is just on me really crooked. That's what happens when you get this old. Um, let's see. Battery Mooch, how far are we to graphite batteries? We've been using graphite batteries for decades. Now, graphene batteries, the form of carbon in the negative side of the battery, positive side is a metal oxide powder. The negative side is graphite powder right now in the batteries we use. Graphene, just another form of the carbon that we use in the negative side of the battery. There's some, I believe, all graphene batteries now, they're not, they're not some miracle. It's just another form of carbon that forms one part of a big group of things that work together in a battery to give you the performance characteristics that the manufacturer has set for that particular battery. Now, there's some potential for very high energy density, namely very, very high capacity. For high power batteries that can give you high current, that can happen and not happen. You've got to start mixing a lot of things in with the graphene conductive stuff to get the current in and out quicker so it doesn't have to go through the tortuous passage. And there's actually something called tortuosity that tells you how hard it is for the ions to move through. Where if you have some really conductive powder mixed in with the graphene, it goes like this and maybe like that and finds a home. I think, now some are existing. Whether it becomes something seen more often will be who wants to spend the money for graphene for that extra energy density, having a 6,000 mAh 21700 versus a 5,000 mAh. And that'll be up to the customers for those batteries. Does Dyson want to build an electric vacuum cleaner that runs a little bit longer or something like that? Or the car manufacturers, particularly, might look at that. But you have to look at cycle life and all these other things that can impact it. And I haven't seen enough information yet that says, yes, graphene's going to replace graphite, especially since graphite is dirt cheap compared to graphene. Brendan Coviello, I'm curious about what you do for a living and what is your background in? I design. Since 1992, I designed power electronics, battery chargers, power supplies, electronic loads, energy harvesters, and things like that. Worked out of home since 92. My background is commercial photography and electronics. I even went to an electronics high school. You can get a 2-year degree in electronics from the high school I went to, or aeronautical engineering, chemical engineering. It was essentially an engineering high school. And that's what taught me, yes, okay, I do love electronics, and started going up through that. Once you get to college, though, it is completely different. I hated it. Yeah, I hated it. And you certainly don't learn anything about batteries in college. You just learn it's a non-ideal voltage source. Um, and that's it. Now there can be more specialized programs, but certainly back then in the late 80s, uh, for college undergraduate, you know anything about batteries. Everything I've learned is self-taught and through my testing, through the work I've done through my clients, and you know hundreds, if not thousands, of hours of reading. Most of it is just self-taught. Bucket Shoot Rants 1. Brother Mooch, I'm using it on my Macs, just got it at Fry's. Oh, the deoxit. Let me know. Send me a PM somewhere. Let me know how the deoxit's working for you. Someone with an Arabic name. Why should I use mech mod while there's so good regulated mod nowadays? It's personal choice. Mech mods can be something very attractive for someone who likes complete control over that, who wants something that they can feel is as reliable as they can possibly make it. They're not beholden to a designer of electronics or anything else. It's just some metal and the battery and their coils. And that's very, very attractive for a lot of people. And I get it. This is all Mac that I'm using. And there are times I like it, other times where I like regulate it because I maybe have a new coil and I don't know where I want to vape it or different juices. I know on the same coil and I know, hey, I want it high power for this juice, but I want it lower power for another juice. And it's just so easy in a regulated mod. It's really just personal choice. There's certainly no right or wrong. Certainly, there are different safety issues. Regulated mods are not safe. The things you still have to be careful with, but mech mods, you have to be careful about a few more things. Dave Flowers, I need a good 6 or 8 cell external 18650 battery bank. Any recommendations? Sorry, none. Uh, I think YouTube would be your best friend for that. See who's got the reviews. Best power banks for 1919. Huh. Let's keep my birth year out of this. 2019 or 2020, and see what works for that. That's a fairly large bank. Um, I don't see a lot in that size, but there's got to be some fantastic ones out there. Scrolling down a little bit. Let's see. Dane Bentley. Very much. Not a question, but just wanted to say thanks for confirming that resistance doesn't affect battery life and the regulated mods, only power output does. You're welcome. It in a tiny percent, depending on the resistance of the coil, the efficiency of the regulator can change a couple of percent here or there. But effectively, the resistance has no effect on battery life. It's just because the batteries aren't connected to the coil. The batteries are connected to the regulator circuit board, and the circuit board is set to a fixed wattage. So the battery is always going to see that fixed wattage pull. Battery Mooch, best battery to buy for single 1850 regulated mod, 60 to 80 watts. 80 watts is a hell of a lot of power for a single battery of any size. At 80 watts, you're over the rating for VTC 5A, VTC 5D, so I have to recommend the 20S on there. 80 watts is a huge amount of power. You're going to get terrible performance in terms of battery life out of that. But if that's fine for you, then 20S, if you are okay with going over the ratings, then you can use like a Malecell P42A or VTC 5A or VTC 5D. That will take you up to about 75 watts. Phil Lee, correction. Um don't know what you're correcting. I didn't see earlier what you did. TCM Fen, guesstimating Paris series with 4 P26As, would guesstimating about 45 to 50 amp availability be correct? Well, you do the classic. You've got in series, which doesn't affect the current rating at all. You've got two in parallel on there. So you've got theoretically double. P26A is 25 amps, so theoretically 50 amps, but no two batteries share current equally when in parallel, and there can be different wiring, different contact resistances, and things like that. So you want to take off something from the total, just to be able to uh, absorb that kind of mismatch without going the rating of any particular battery. If you've got a high quality mod and perfect condition batteries, maybe take 15% off the top, off 50 amps. If things are starting to wear out as your batteries get older, maybe you want to take 25%. Some people just take 50%, and they just go, 50% off one battery. So they might go, I'll call it 35 amps. A lot of it's up to you. There's no hard and fast numbers. Just don't assume it's 50 amps. Buck and Shoot Ranch 1. Have you heard anything about battery packs that are using lasers on a solar panel that can put back more than used to be able to recharge itself? What? Wait. So they're using solar panels to charge batteries to fire a laser at the solar panels to charge the batteries higher to where they were before. No, no, not even close to working. That whole setup might have 20% efficiency, 80% of the power is lost through that cycle. No, can't happen. Impossible. That's free energy kind of stuff. No, impossible. If I understand the question. Everyone, you got to put battery mooch at the beginning of your questions. And we've got about another 12 minutes to go, so we've got time for a few more questions. And that was close enough to a dry hit for me to realize I should be paying more attention to dripping here. Mitch asks, where can I find my updated battery charge? Everything is, I should put that link in my Power Hour. I'm sorry, I'll put it in, but my Facebook page, the pin post on my Facebook page has the links to everything. Any of my other videos has a link to my blog at ECF, where my Facebook page links to. Blog at ECF is home base. All the latest charts are there. So go to any of the video description section, and I'll have to, actually, I'm going to write a note to that. Add blog link. And I'll make sure to add that for the future Power Hour video so everyone has those links. Thank you for that. Dakota Simon, have I ever been to Kentucky? Only through one corner. We're doing some rock climbing nearby, and I think we had to go through Kentucky to get to where we were going. I wasn't driving, so I don't remember. Beautiful country. Wow. It was humid. It was July 4th weekend, and it was unholy humid. I think it was a rainforest they were coming through, technically a rainforest in that part. And woo, SNK Morthy, why older batteries get hotter when charging? As a battery ages, its internal resistance goes up. It's literally the resistance of the materials through there, and it becomes less efficient. And that being less efficient and having a higher resistance means it creates more heat for the same amount of current passing through it. So as the battery gets older and older and older, it could get hotter when you're using it or hotter when you're charging it. Now, if you recently changed chargers, some chargers just make batteries hotter because the heat from the charger is rising up into the batteries. Terrible design. I I won't. Yeah, I'm going to rant about that. It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. The, no, actually, I'm not going to rant about that. Okay, so it can happen on there, but it's an indication that your battery's aging, and you maybe start thinking, particularly if you're seeing it not run as long, that kind of heating up is an indication, hey, it's about time to start thinking about replacing the battery. Cloud King Cody, is there any new technology of batteries coming out that are going to change the vape community? No, not for years. Maybe solid state batteries, which I'm very hopeful for low current rated mouth to lung use 5 years from now, maybe 10, where they'll start hitting, you know, uh, quote, the everyday battery market, something like that, when the cost comes down enough. But certainly nothing in the near term. It'll just be this evolutionary kind of step. Remember, anything we're vaping, anything we're using now is all that made it from all the miracle announcements made 2 to 5 years ago. They said, hey, we have this new technology and this is going to revolutionize everything and da 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 da. What we have now is all that made it. Things like the Malecell P42A and the P26A, the ultra high capacity 21700s, they're all fantastic, but they're all expected evolutionary steps. And that's what we're going to keep seeing. They'll be the first niche market use of solid state batteries, aerospace, military, things like that. That'll go into high end ultra high-end products, maybe some of the hybrid cars and stuff like that, and it'll start working it down and expanding out into the marketplace. Volume production will ramp up, prices will come down. Eventually, they get to the point where like, oh, hey, I can buy this now for less than $1,000 a sale. Yeah, I'm going to vape with it. Dane Bentley, to answer your questions about what I was essentially saying before, solid state batteries. Just because the safety factor is so high on there. They can still catch fire and everything, but they're just a big step up from what we have now that can do some very nasty things if they go into thermal runaway and explode. All my Addy Tooney, Battery Mooch, all your links are active under description. But I thought I just had, are they in the description for this video? I thought this video just had the links for, whoops. Whoever asked a question about links, they're in the description section of this video. I forgot, I already added them. Sometimes I actually think about things. That's amazing. Addie, thank you very much. James Mancuso, 8 minutes. Galeazzi or VapCell 18350 for a mech. The resistance, I don't know. Keep it under 10 amps. In my brain, that doesn't sound like you're anywhere near 10 amps. I didn't test the Galeazzi, the VapCell. The VapCell and two others all use the same 18350. It was an okay 10 amp 18350. So I recommend staying about 7 amps to get decent efficiency out of them, and the VapCell over the Galeazzi only because I have no idea what cell the Galeazzi uses. Tracy Kennedy, what do I store my batteries in? Ah, and I don't have a battery box here. You can get clamshell battery boxes, really inexpensive from IMR Batteries or any of the vendors in the description section for different sizes, 2700, 21700, 1850, 18650, and they snap shut, and that's a great place to store them. If you have lots of batteries, you can use 12 gauge shotgun shell containers. Open it up, and there's like 25 points. Lip stick stands can actually hold batteries, and some of them are quite decorative. That's an option. But the battery boxes, a buck 50 each, something like that. Your vape shops will probably have them too. Definitely don't ever put a battery in your pocket. Don't leave them in a drawer. If you have to, put them in a Ziploc bag, one in a Ziploc bag, one in another Ziploc bag or something until you get battery boxes. Marvin Norton, what's a good charger that I could recommend? I don't have any chargers to recommend. Um, what each of us wants in a charger is so completely different from the other person. The thing that I would find that I didn't like would make a battery charger useless, you might not care about at all. And something that you may find is a total problem with a charger, like being able to set everything and 500 menus. You may go, I'm never going to buy that, and I might go, I love that. I have to have that as a feature. So I can't recommend anything. I would say check out um, any place where I've posted, an ECF, ECR, my Facebook page where I've posted. There's links at the top to all my chargers. Just read the summaries at the top of each charger test report and see which one you hate the least, and that might work for you. And then compare and contrast a couple of them. But right now, everyone wants something just so completely different from a charger. Particularly different for me because I'm using them so differently than everybody else that I just don't have any to recommend. Not yet. I might find something as I test more chargers, though. Gator Don't Play 417 asks, best batteries for Wismec Gen 3 dual vaping around 90 watts. Okay, for any mod, at 90 watts dual, you're at 45 watts of battery, 90 watts, two batteries, 45 watts of battery. That's about as high as you want to go, but you can still use Samsung 30Q or the Murata VTC6 3000 mAh batteries. Great choices for that. They'll work fantastically at 45 watts. Nefarian, yes, I do. Nefarian, yeah. Element sent me VT6As instead of 30Ts in a mech. Yeah, 25 amps for a VTC6A 21700. So keep under 25 amps, Nefarian. Brandon Coviello, what do I use for charger? I use um, constant current, constant voltage power supplies. Just raw power supplies, but special types of constant current. You can't short circuit them like a regular power supply. That lets me dial anything from 0 to 60 amps, any voltage from 0 to 30 volts, and I can charge them exactly the way I want to. I do have an Opus that I use occasionally when I am setting some things up. What is it? The B3400C or C3400. I forget the numbers. I'm terrible for that. That I've been able to use. The Dragon, I kind of like for a lot of things, but I only use that for lithium ferrous phosphate, the LiFePO4 batteries. So it's just in the closet most of the time. Dakota Simon, I bought a Galeazzi S6. I think that's a charger. And it showed up and wouldn't charge at all. Screen was just blue. Sent it back. Any idea what was wrong? It was broken. Let's see. Dakota, yeah, no, there's no way for me to know. I mean, obviously the screen was getting the backlight, but something was definitely wrong. There'd be no way for me to be able to diagnose what was going on with it. Sorry you had to deal with that, though. That's frustrating as hell when that happens. Buck and Shoot Ranch 1, how about a battery Mooch charger? Yeah, how about that? Eddie Tooney, 3 minutes. Okay, we're going to take one more question. Thank you, sir. Because I do not want anyone to miss 1 second of NAVS, a Mark Might ST, and whoa, okay, still looking through here. Anybody want the last question? Okay, then what we can do is we can call it even. I want to thank everybody for coming by tonight. My apologies for not going public early. Now the questions come. Okay. Dakota Simon. Yeah, I figured. Thanks, brother. If you come out with a charger, you'll definitely buy. Cool. Buck and Shoot Ranch 1. I'm a Patreon, so I don't remember what that was in reference to. Okay. But thank you for being a patron. Thank you for support. For those at Super Chat, thank you. Mike, a Phenom, thank you so much. And I forgot who the other one was. My apologies. It's off the screen already. Everybody else, thank you for joining me for this live. Thank you for your questions and for the chat here. And everybody, head over to Not Another Vape Show. I forgot if it's on which channel of Mark's it's on, but tell him Mooch sent you. And I'll join everybody in chat in a few minutes. And that's all for tonight. Everybody, thank you very much. Take care.